Okay, so there's a thing, right? And this kind of goes into a little bit like Tyler Robinson incident and his upbringing and all this type of stuff, but it goes into everybody's upbringing, right? Everybody has what is called an attachment style, right? And I wanted to talk about this because this kind of goes into some things with me personally, right? Everybody has an attachment style, right? So a man named James, I think his name is James Bowlby. Give me a second. Let me find his name real quick. Oh, John Bowlby, right? John Bowlby came up with what's called attachment theory in psychology, right? That was his invention. Let's read a little bit about the background. I want everybody. All right. So look, this is the direction that we're going, right? We're going human interaction direction. We're going how humans learn to interact with people and the world by first interacting with their parents, especially their mother, while they're infants. Okay, so that's the direction that we're going. If this is not a topic you care about, I still suggest you stick around because we got a bombshell coming in this topic. Okay, let's read. During the 1930s, Bowlby was a psychiatrist at a child guidance clinic in London, treating numerous emotionally troubled children. His experiences there underscored the significance of a child's relationship with their mother in shaping their social, emotional, and cognitive development. It molded his understanding of the connection between early separations from the mother and subsequent maladjustment, leading him to develop his attachment theory. Historically, attachment theory represented a significant shift from earlier psychological perspectives, notably Freudian and behaviorist theories. Prior to Bowlby's contributions, these approaches largely explained attachment through feeding, the idea popularly known as cupboard love theory. Bowlby challenged this view by demonstrating that attachment arises primarily from a child's need for comfort and security rather than merely physical nourishment. His observations highlighted that children experience profound separation anxiety even when their physical needs are adequately met. The attachment bond isn't coincidental. Its primary purpose is to ensure the survival of the vulnerable infant, requiring a constant presence of a caregiver. Viewed from this lens, attachment emerges as an evolutionary concept. The behavior of seeking proximity is universally observed across cultures. Okay, what's going on here? Okay. Bowlby, 1988, contended that the drive for proximity arises from an interconnected set of behavior systems that collectively shape behavior. These include the attachment, caregiving, and exploratory behavior systems. So here's the circle of security. Oh, it's hard to see this. Damn. Okay. The circle of security. Here you go. Right. So you have the child. You know what I'm saying? Here's the child's parent. Right. The child goes out, you know what I'm saying? Their parent is watching over them. They see this scary thing that happens. That's like a thunderstorm. And then the child comes back to their parent looking for that safe haven, right? So this is the caregiving system. This is how it's supposed to be. Child goes out to explore the world. They run into some type of danger, and then they run back to their safe haven or their parent to be cared for and comforted, right? This is how the normal cycle goes, okay? Attachment behavioral system. The primary goal of the attachment system is felt security, which means feeling safe, understood, and supported by your caregivers. Felt security lets individuals confidently explore their surroundings and manage stress, effectively fostering growth and resilience. The attachment behavioral system helps children manage their need for safety alongside their desire to explore and learn the world. This system becomes active when children encounter stress or discomfort, such as internal issues like hunger, illness, tiredness, or external threats, unfamiliar situations, frightening stimuli, or perceived danger. The greater the perceived stress or threat, the stronger the child's instinct to seek closeness and reassurance from caregivers. This attachment system is most prominent during the first 5 years of life, a critical development period marked by significant dependency and vulnerability. When activated, children engage in behaviors designed to gain closeness and comfort, including crying, calling, reaching, clinging, or actively seeking physical proximity. Successful proximity seeking, reassurance, and comfort from caregivers help deactivate the attachment system, returning children to a calm and secure state. Okay, let's get to the attachment styles. All right, let's read about attachment styles. The actual attachment styles themselves, right? Attachment styles refer to the particular way in which an individual relates to other people. The style of attachment is formed at the very beginning of life, and once established, it is the style that stays with you and plays out today in how you relate in intimate relationships and how you parent your children. The concept involves one's confidence in the ability of the attachment figure for use as a secure base from which one can freely explore the world when it's not in distress, and a safe haven from which one can seek support, protection, and comfort in times of distress. This is a pretty cool graphic that they have here. Let me show it. Okay, so this pretty much has the attachment styles, right? In the top left corner, you have secure, right? And they're showing that when you have a positive model of others and you have a positive model of self, you will be secure. On the right, you have the anxious attachment style, right? When you have a positive model of others, but a negative model of self, you will be anxious. Down in the bottom right, you have a fearful attachment style. When you have a negative model of self and a negative model of others, you will be fearful. You will have a fearful attachment style, right? And when you have on the bottom left, you have avoidant. When you have a positive model of self, right, and you have a negative model of others, you are considered to be an avoidant attachment style. Now, for me personally, avoidant is where I fall, right? Avoidant is where I fall. So we are going to read through these different attachment styles. It says fearful here, but the actual 3 attachment styles are secure, anxious, and avoidant, right? Let's read about them. Secure attachment style. Bowlby, 1988, describes secure attachment as the capacity to connect well and securely in relationships with others while also having the capacity for autonomous action as situationally appropriate. Secure attachment is characterized by trust and adaptive response to being abandoned and the belief that one is worthy of love. An infant with a secure attachment is characterized as actively seeking and maintaining proximity with the mother, especially during the reunion episode. The infant may or may not be friendly with the stranger, but also shows more interest in interacting with the mother. Additionally, during the same situation, the infant tended to be slightly distressed during separation from the mother, but the infant rarely cried. Ainsworth and colleagues interpreted infants who securely attached to their mothers showed less anxiousness and more positive attitudes toward the relationship, and were likely because they believed in their mother's responsiveness towards their needs. Anxious, or what they are calling ambivalent attachment. Anxious attachment, also called ambivalent, relationships are characterized by a concern that others will not reciprocate one's desire for intimacy. This is caused when an infant learns that the caregiver or parent is unreliable and does not consistently provide responsive care toward their needs. An anxiously attached infant is characterized as being somewhat ambivalent and resistant to the mother. The infant often demonstrated signs of resisting interactions with the mother, especially during the strained situation reunion episode. However, once contact with the mother was gained, the infant was also showed strong intentions to maintain such contact. Overall, ambivalent infants often displayed maladaptive behaviors throughout the strained situation. Ainsworth and colleagues found ambivalent infants to be anxious and unconfident about their mother's responsiveness, and their mothers were observed to lack their fine sense of timing in responding to the infant's needs. As a result, those with an anxious, preoccupied attachment style are overly concerned with the uncertainty of a relationship. They hold a negative working model of self and positive working model of others. Okay. If this is too deep, please stop it, rewind it, listen again, or you can pull this up also on your own at simplypsychology.org/attachment.html if you need all that, right? Pull this up yourself and read it along with me because we're going somewhere with this. Excuse me. Avoidant attachment. Let's get to it. Avoidant attachment. Children with avoidant attachment styles tend to avoid interaction with the caregiver and show no distress during separation. This may be because the parent has ignored attempts to be intimate, and the child may internalize the belief that they cannot depend on this or any other relationship. An infant with an avoidant attachment was characterized as displaying little to no tendency to seek proximity with the mother. The infant also often showed no distress during separation from the mother, interacted with the stranger similarly to how he or she would interact with the mother, and showed slight signs of avoidance, turning away, avoiding eye contact, etc. when reunited with the mother. Ainsworth and colleagues interpreted infants' avoidant behaviors as defensive mechanisms against the mother's own rejecting behaviors, such as being uncomfortable with physical contact or being more easily angered by the infants. Okay, they do have a different, disorganized attachment or fearful. This is another one. This is one you don't really hear about that much, so I'm not even going to get into it. Okay, so now we have read these and we've read how people get to these points, right? It usually has to do with the way that a child has interacted with their parents very early in life, right? And it's looking at so essentially, you're navigating the world as a very young person, toddler, infant, young child. And when something goes, or when you feel uncomfortable, when you feel the most uncomfortable, what was the response like from the parental figures, from the guidance figures, from your parents, right? What type of response did you get? If that response was positive and they reassured you and they were there in a timely manner, quick enough to where you felt comfortable quickly, you will likely become a secure person later in life. And it's not just a one-time thing. This is just how you daily life. What was it like daily for you, right? On average, how was it? Okay. If you were in a situation where you felt uncomfortable and you reached out to your parents and they may have been around, but you didn't really trust that they would be around all the time, you will more so develop that anxious style. Okay. Let's say you were in this uncomfortable situation and you felt uncomfortable and you were looking for a parent for guidance and all that. And then in the moment of looking for their guidance, they rejected you and you felt that rejection. Then you go the avoidant route, right? So that's why I said, that's where I fall. I fall the avoidant route. Okay. Now let's look at how this impacts adults in adult relationships, adult romantic relationships, also very important. This is another source, okay? This is psychology.illinois.edu, okay? Well, this is coursework, look like. Although Bowlby was primarily focused on understanding the nature of the infant caregiver relationship, he believed that attachment characterized human experience from the cradle to the grave. It was not until the mid-'80s, however, that researchers began to take seriously the possibility that attachment processes may play out in adulthood. Hazen and Shaver in 1987 were two of the first researchers to explore Bowlby's ideas in the context of romantic relationships. According to Hazen and Shaver, the emotional bond that develops between adult romantic partners is partly a function of the same motivational system, the attachment behavioral system. That gives rise to the emotional bond between infants and caregivers. Hazen and Schaefer noted that the relationship between infants and caregivers and the relationship between adult romantic partners share the following features. Both feel safe when they are nearby and responsive. Both engage in close, intimate bodily contact. Both feel insecure when the other is inaccessible. Both share discoveries with one another. Both play with one another's facial features. And both engage in baby talk. On the basis of these parallels, Hazen and Schaefer argue that the adult romantic relationships, like infant caregiver relationships, are attachments and that romantic love is a property of the attachment behavior system, as well as the motivational systems that give rise to caregiving and sexuality. Okay. The implications of adult attachment theory. The idea that romantic relationships may be attachment relationships has had a profound influence on modern research on close relationships. There are at least three clinical implications of this idea. First, if adult romantic relationships are attachment relationships, then they should observe the same kind of individual differences in adult relationships that Ainsworth observed in infant caregiver relationships. We may expect adults, for example, to be secure in their relationships, to feel confident that their partners will be there for them when they're needed, open to depending on others, and having others depend on them. We should expect other adults, in contrast, to be insecure in their relationships. For example, some insecure adults may be anxious resistant. They worry that others may not love them completely and easily frustrated or angered when the attachment needs go unmet. Others may be avoidant. They may appear to not care too much about those close relationships and may prefer not to be too dependent upon other people or to have others be too dependent on them. Now this is where we get into what I'm leaning into, right? Because I look at myself and I'm like, and I want to talk about this because I want to help people understand that you got to look for yourself when you get into these reading about psychology and stuff like this. Find where you fit in there, because you need, you know what I'm saying? You got to understand yourself better than anything. And I've been in therapy the last couple months now, right? So I'm really trying to dive in and really figure out what's going on with me and how I can figure relationships out better and stuff like that, and romantic relationships, stuff like that. I want to be better at that. Not even just that, socializing. You understand? Because I used to be a lot better, but things happened over the years, and it's just falling off of me. So when I look at the avoidant style, you got to look at where it came from, right? It's all right. So when they talk about the avoidant thing, it's like, okay, so when I was young, I started to get the feeling that a lot of people in my family didn't really care. Not that they didn't love me, not that they didn't care about me, but they didn't really care about what I had going on, right? Everybody seemed like they was just doing their own thing, right? So I started to, I'm going out into the world. When I run into like a dangerous situation or something like that, I don't feel like I have somebody I can lean back on that could come help me, right? So this is when it started to coming across my mind, my memory, and I'm like, dang,